We often hear stories of racial discrimination, the injustices faced by women, or the stigma against LGBTQ+ communities. But what is it that keeps these behaviors, despite widespread condemnation, alive through generations? Perhaps the cause isn't solely in differences of skin color, gender, or culture, but also rooted in historical, cultural, and even unconscious biases deeply ingrained in society. These factors create a vicious cycle, making discrimination seem almost unerasable. To truly understand the origins of these prejudices, we need to reflect on how they were formed, sustained, and gradually embedded into the social consciousness over generations. Discrimination is not a new issue. It has existed throughout human history, woven through many civilizations, and becoming embedded in social and cultural systems. Over thousands of years, from ancient to modern times, we see a tendency for humans to categorize, rank, and judge one another based on characteristics like origin, gender, class, and beliefs. Earlier societies, from Greece and Rome to feudal Asian civilizations, held rules and customs that, today, we recognize as forms of discrimination. This was not limited to injustice against specific groups. It also established social classes, making discrimination an integral part of societal structure. Sadly, when we look back at history, we realize that these systems were once accepted as the norm. Cultural standards and traditions played a significant role in reinforcing these discriminations, from women being denied education, enslaved individuals being demeaned, to religious or minority communities being excluded. All these elements made discrimination not only an individual behavior, but an embedded part of societal machinery. Prejudices and biases are not innate. They are often passed down from one generation to the next through what we learn from family, education, and community. In families, children can grow up absorbing views from parents or grandparents, sometimes negative opinions about others simply because they belong to a different group or culture. Words, stories, and even subtle reactions from adults plant seeds of prejudice in young minds, sometimes without the child even realizing it. In the education system, biases can seep through textbooks, lessons, or teachers' perspectives. Some teaching methods or learning materials may carry biased opinions, whether intentionally or unintentionally, leading students to accept them without critical reflection. Especially in closed communities, beliefs and prejudices about outsiders can be very difficult to change. People tend to pass on existing opinions from previous generations without realizing that these views may no longer be relevant. Overall, biases and prejudices gradually become ingrained in culture, nurtured through generations, and without change from within the community, it can be very difficult to break them down. It is essential for individuals to be aware of and reassess these beliefs, allowing for a more open-minded perspective and avoiding the pitfalls of the biases they were taught. Culture and tradition have a significant power in maintaining norms and beliefs that have been deeply embedded in people's minds over generations. As a result, certain discriminatory beliefs or behaviors can be viewed as normal and are often hard to challenge within society. When a culture has existed for a long time with entrenched beliefs, people tend to accept them without questioning. These customs gradually become a part of tradition and create a sense of stability, making change difficult. For example, in some cultures, the concept of gender roles has been passed down from generation to generation, leading to gender discrimination that few perceive as unusual. Similarly, the idea of social class in some traditional societies results in lower-class individuals being looked down upon and not granted the same rights as those in higher classes. For many, this becomes a part of the natural order, and sometimes they may not even realize that they are perpetuating discriminatory behaviors. When there is insufficient education on equality and inclusion, we easily hold on to discriminatory beliefs without realizing it. Many people unconsciously judge others based on skin color, gender, or background simply because they have never been taught that everyone deserves to be treated with respect. Without an understanding of fairness and an appreciation for diversity, they may see discriminatory behaviors as normal and accept them as a natural part of life. Discrimination not only causes people to be treated unfairly, but also directly increases economic and social inequality. When someone faces discrimination, their access to education, employment, or resources becomes limited, As a result, individuals from marginalized groups struggle to advance or achieve a fulfilling life, leading to a cycle of poverty and lack of opportunity. This impacts not only the individual, but also their family and future generations. For example, an individual from a minority ethnic group may face difficulties in securing a good job due to implicit biases in the hiring process. Without stable employment, they are less likely to invest in education or healthcare for their children, reducing the next generation's chances to break free from their current circumstances. Families from marginalized groups can become trapped in a cycle of poverty, with each generation continuing to face the same injustices and limitations as the one before. In this way, discrimination unintentionally reinforces a cycle of poverty and inequality across generations. Each new generation starts from a disadvantaged position, with limited opportunities to change or progress. Additionally, media has a powerful influence on how society perceives and judges different groups. When media consistently presents discriminatory images, language, or stories, whether intentionally or unintentionally, these messages gradually seep into viewers' minds. This unintentionally makes biases and misconceptions more widespread and harder to change as people start to accept them as recognized truths. In many countries, the lack of strong policies to prevent and address discrimination has allowed the problem to persist across generations. Without clear laws or sufficient penalties, discriminatory behavior becomes difficult to curb and is sometimes even seen as normal within society. Those who are disadvantaged by discrimination lack adequate legal tools to protect their rights, while those engaging in discriminatory actions face little accountability or consequences. Educating and raising awareness among younger generations is truly the most effective way to end discrimination across generations. Think about it. When we teach children the value of equality, respect, and understanding, aren't we planting the seeds for a more just and compassionate society? In reality, many misconceptions and biases toward others stem from a lack of understanding. When children have the chance to learn about different cultures, religions, and lifestyles, they are less likely to be influenced by outdated prejudices they may have heard in their surroundings. Think about the small actions we can take. In school, just one lesson on respecting differences or an open discussion on inclusion can already shift the way children think. And when we, as parents, teachers, or simply the adults around them, create an environment that values equality and harmony, children will grow up believing that discrimination is unacceptable. This is the power of education and the effort for change. It's not something that can be achieved overnight, but little by little, we are building a better future for everyone, a future where our children will no longer have to face discrimination and injustice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the exciting content coming up. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.